Hello and welcome to IELTS and ESL Expert TV. My name's Keith Mason and I'm the expert. I taught in China for 10 years, IELTS and ESL, and also I was an examiner. So I know it from both sides of the table. So I hope you're going to come along regularly and learn for these free lessons, and see you very, very, very soon in the next video. Okay, so welcome back to level 1, to my IELTS and ESL Expert TV, and we're looking at level 1 questions. So hopefully by now you've got a very good idea of how the exam will work and how it will start and how to approach your level 1 question. So very common question would be about your hometown, or maybe about where you live. So it could be particularly for people who live in some countries, they may be born in one place and then move away from their family and live somewhere else. So it could be about your hometown, the place where you were born, or it might be about where you live. Doesn't really matter. And to be honest, the examiner doesn't know the truth. Not that I want you to lie, but the examiner doesn't know where you're from. So you can choose either. You can just say whatever. You're just talking about a town that you're very, very familiar with. Okay? So that's really not, I'm not telling you to lie, but you can be creative with the truth, because you're not being examined on your answers, the wonderful answers that you come up with, as far as, oh, I live in London, or I live in Paris. That's really of no interest to the examiner. They just want to know how your grammar and vocabulary is. So that's why that's important. So a typical question, opening question, can you tell me where your hometown is? So how are you going to answer that? So answer it with a smile. I was born in, or I'm from, Stevenage. Put in obviously wherever you're from. So I was born in Stevenage. Stevenage is a town which is in the county of Hertfordshire. So it may be a province from where you are, but for me in England, it's in a county of Hertfordshire, which is central in England. Stevenage is quite near London, and Stevenage is a town which many people from London have moved out to because it was too busy in London. So a lot of people who live in Stevenage are from London. You might say Stevenage is north of London. That's where it's situated. Or you could say Stevenage on the outskirts, right on the edge, on the outskirts of London. So that means it's right on the edge, or of whatever city you're talking about. Next question, tell me about your hometown. So again, the examiner has no idea about your hometown, but you might be able to come up with some examples, and yeah, it's something that you want to prepare. So think about your hometown. This could well be a question. And think about just some facts about your hometown. So what would I say? Tell me about your hometown. Well, Stevenage is a modern city, or a modern town, and it has a number of shopping centres which can get very busy on a Saturday. So you can see, I said, it has a number of shopping centres which can get very busy on a Saturday. So I'm extending my answer to make it not just it's got a number of shopping centres. So we want a little bit more than that. If you just give those very simple basic sentences, then you're setting yourself up for a lower score. The examiner is going to assume from that your grammar is fairly basic and that your vocabulary is fairly basic. So you want to be extending it by using those linking words. So what else can we say about Stevenage? So Stevenage has one great advantage, and that is that it's very close to the countryside. So here's a nice little fact about Stevenage, very close to the countryside. And then you go, so I'm able to go for walks in the woods or across the fields whenever I want. So this is not complicated, it's simple stuff, just to extend those sentences so that you're getting higher scores. This is going to lift your base up. It's going to lift your base score up. What can you do there? Okay, so for me, well, Stevenage has many things for people to do. There's a lake where people go fishing or sailing. Also, there is a leisure park where people can play bowling or go to the cinema or go out to a restaurant. That's enough. So you've put a few concepts together to make one sentence, and a sentence which is answering the question. You always make sure you stick to the question. Don't go off and start talking about other things. Okay, are there any tourist attractions? Well, in Stevenage, there's really not any tourist attractions. So, how are you going to answer that when the answer is no? Well, you can still turn it round. So you can say, well, no, actually, there aren't any really interesting tourist attractions. However, Stevenage does have some areas where people might want to come and visit. It has a museum. Okay, so that could be something that may be of interest. And in fact, many people come to fish in Stevenage Lake because it's very popular in the area. Okay, you might say something that, of course, it's very close to London, which is a great tourist attraction. So although Stevenage is not really a tourist attraction itself, you can say it's very close to London, just 20 minutes by train. Okay, so that would answer that question. Next question, what is the transport like in your hometown? Well, I've just mentioned the trains, so I'd probably be thinking about that in my answer. Also the bus service. And one thing about Stevenage is it has a great network of cycle tracks, places where you can take your bike. A cycle track where you can take your bike. So I might mention that in my answer. Well, what is the transport like in your hometown? Well, in Stevenage, there is a railway station which has links to London, to the south, and also to the north of England. So it's quite convenient if you want to travel long distances. Also, it's situated on a motorway, so it has very good driving links. Inside the town, it has a very, very good bus service, and there are many cycleways or cycle paths for cyclists to travel around with safety, in safety. So that would be more than enough to answer that question. Has it changed very much since you were very young? Well, you can look at me and you'll know that's a long time. So it's changed a great deal. So if I was given that question, I could come up with a lot of answers. But for younger people, it may not have changed so much. But I'm sure you can think of some things that have changed. When I was living abroad in Nantong, in China, there were massive changes in the 10 years that I was there. And probably in Stevenage, I can say the same. So in the last 10 years, there have been big changes. So has it changed very much since you were very young? Well, yes, it has. There's been a number of shopping centres that have been built, especially on the outskirts of Stevenage. There are some large shopping centres which attract customers from local towns and cities. So there's one thing that you could mention. What else has changed? Well, the lake was built since I was a young boy. It used to be just a farm. So the lake has been built and many new housing estates have gone up. So Stevenage has grown immensely since I was a young boy. Okay, so those are some questions that you will get, certainly get if you get hometown or where do you live, and some ways to answer. So remember to keep those sentences simple but complex. That sort of contradicts simple and complex. They're complex sentences because they have linking words, but keep them simple, not difficult. So I hope that was really helpful for you, and I will see you very soon in my next video.